well and strong. I want them to be emotionally well and strong. Emotional strength and emotional intelligence. For parents, this means finding the right school environment where deep friendships and intense camaraderie are nurtured carefully and intentionally. And I have to tell you, I think Salisbury School does this as well as any school I know. And humility aside, I would say that Salisbury School does this better than any school that I know. That is, parents and students, why Salisbury? And what is this all-boys thing really, truly about? Years ago, I stood on a bench. Actually, the rink was in the place where the rink is now, the current rink is now, but it wasn't nearly as nice. Coaching a hockey team with a trusted friend and colleague who I admire and love to this day. And we still remember the faculty. And I often heard him say a phrase to our team right before we took to the ice. And I think in those days I may have taken what he said for granted. But it now means much more to me. The last thing he would say before our team took to the ice was, remember, whatever happens out there, Salisbury boys stick together. Whatever happens out there, Salisbury boys stick together. A band of brothers that we are. I would leave you by saying, boys, stick together. Thank you for listening. I'd now like to introduce our chaplain, the Reverend Jeffrey Lewis, to lead us for the next few moments.
Good morning. Let us start the way we start every Tuesday and Friday when we gather in the chapel, with an invocation and a welcome to be in this moment, in this place together. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us stand up now in the back of your bulletins. Let's sing the first and fourth verses of the Sarah hymn.
Sarah.
Good morning. And thank you, Mr. Chandler, for that wonderful talk. One of the things I love about my time at Salisbury is just, even in the midst of our busy schedules, Mr. Chandler and I, when we have conversations, and even when we talk about what we're going to talk about, the chords are very often the same, which shouldn't be a surprise. I've been thinking about us here in this room this morning, and not just us in this room and at the school, but us on the planet at this time in history, which I'm convinced is an important time with a great transition that we don't understand completely. And I'll just begin with a little question. How many of you all have already checked and updated your Facebook status today? At least once. If you haven't updated your status, how many times have you at least checked in on Facebook today? I have to say I'm actually surprised how low the number is. Because I confess I've already checked it. And I check it more times than I'd like to admit to. And I think it's okay, but one thing I know it does, it connects me with old friends I haven't seen in decades who are living in different parts of the planet. But paradoxically, in some ways, it keeps me from being connected to where I am right now in this part of the planet. And I'm still sorting this out. And a picture that a friend of mine posted on Facebook recently was a good friend of mine who makes his career making beautiful documentary films all over the planet. He has one of the coolest jobs any human has ever had. And this picture he posted was something most of us can recognize. It's in an airplane, a jetliner. Lots of seats, aisle by aisle. He's taking this picture with his smartphone at the back of the fuselage looking forward at the sea of heads, each looking in the same direction. And on the back of every single seat is an individual screen. And every single screen is different. It's like nobody should have to face the anachronistic burden of having to share the same experience with anybody else, even on the same plane with the same destination at the same time. So to me, a chapel, a school, a convocation like this is very important and countercultural. In a world that is quickly changing to offer more and more ways to exalt and celebrate and titillate the individual, the calling together of any group of people to share an experience in common is wonderful. And old school, if you will. Do you guys, talking to the students here, remember, it was only a few weeks ago, but it seemed like 1,000 years ago, that first week of September, where we as a school gathered together in small groups and went to different places to share common experiences. And some of us went hiking, some of us went and did some group team building exercises. I was part of a group that went up to Jiminy Peak and crawled around on a high ropes course, 30 or 40 feet in the air, strung between trees on these series of wires. Now, I've been thinking about the beautiful metaphor of that event. So on one of these transitions, we had to walk across literally a tightrope where you had a rope above one hand and you had to walk out onto the wire, and at some point you had to let go of the old rope to grab the new rope. And you couldn't quite grab the new rope until you let go of the old rope to make it work. And at this point, this little leap of faith that we needed was countered by the voice in our head that was like saying, dude, I should not be here. This is no place for a human. I cannot do this. If I fall, I will surely die. Of course, the wisdom from our experience told us not to worry. We would not die. The rope was holding us. We had harnesses on that kept us from falling. It's okay. Go ahead. Let go of the old rope. Grab the new rope. See what happens. And at moments like that, we are literally confused. Our emotions, our bodies, our senses, our thoughts are all fused together in this tangled mass. And this little leap of faith is only fun because we have this capacity to reason and know and believe in the safety of the system, of the harnesses and the wires and the thoughtful design and oversight of responsible people who came before us to make this metaphorical exercise useful to us. If responsible people had not gone before and wanted us to succeed, this exercise wouldn't have worked at all. It would have been completely meaningless. So just like the Rose course taught us, any transition in life is a charged moment. It can be thrilling or terrifying, or anything in between. And it's not something we're likely to feel numb about if we're paying attention. And in many ways, each of us, students, parents, teachers, at some point, we feel ourselves facing the decisions born of progress that leads us to have to let go of an old rope before we can grab the new one. And it is hard to let go of the old one and grab onto the new one until we can trust it. And that's where this whole metaphor of the Rose course just falls apart for me. Because in the real world of transitions, so many of the ropes we reach to grab onto in our transitions, we don't know if they're trustworthy. It seems we trust them at our own peril. And unless we can trust that they were put in place by responsible people who went ahead of us, who actually wanted us to succeed, it's hard to grab them. Now, I am old enough now to remember a few of the major transitions of my life, including the one of being an adolescent male. And I'm aware of the transitions that most of us are going through right now, whether we are students here or parents of students here. And sometimes I'm simply amazed by the passage of time. I don't know about you parents, but I know I just became a father about 2 weeks ago. It feels like. I'm talking about my first son who's 17 years old. I didn't have another kid.